All right, and we are live. What's going on, everybody? This is Undead 3XVI. Welcome to the first episode of The Gaming Perspective. So we're going to be talking all things God of War today, but to get started, I will introduce the cast. So I'm going to start with my co-host with the co-most, Rage. Introduce yourself to everybody.
Well, I guess this is Rage Virus X. I'm a writer for, I guess, soon to be content contributor as well for The Loot Gaming. We're a gaming media website, and feel free to check us out on Twitter and at thelootgaming.com. But I'm also another fellow Canadian. So, other than that, I haven't really been doing too much other than playing a crap load of Neo and Monster Hunter World, and it's been an absolute blast playing those. Yeah, I don't know much more to say other than that's me.
All right. I'll introduce Mr. Eric Jackson.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm honored to be here on the first official maiden voyage of the Gaming Perspective. Thanks for having me, bro. EC Jackson on Twitter, and also a member of Brack Podcast with Enrique and B Money. So check us out on Wednesdays. And yeah, ready to do this.
All right. And the OG from the first podcast I was ever on, my man Demigod. Introduce yourself, sir.
What is going on, everybody? Demigod Reviews here. The Sleepy Warrior currently. I'm in the Jimmy. But you can follow me on Twitter at that guy Demi. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Demigod Reviews, and follow me on Twitch at Demigod Reviews.
All right. And you will have links to everybody's stuff in the description once I get that sorted out after the show. All right. So, God of War 420. Best release date I've ever seen.
That was an interesting pick.
So, just quickly, just to cover some bases, what have you guys been playing this week? We'll start down the line here with Rage. You said Neo and...
Monster Hunter World.
Oh, man. Those are some good ones right there.
The only two I've been playing, and I've actually been playing Neo way more than anything else because I'm just such a dark fantasy RPG fan, kind of like Dark Souls. So I've been right up my alley, getting my fix in for the lack of type of games that are like that out there.
So y'all gonna start off with Souls Talk, man?
Oh, I love it. Oh man, Dark Souls 3 was a religious converting experience for me. Started out in the second one, but Dark Souls 3 really kind of just made me realize it's my niche game type of game for me to really fall into.
You know, I'd never been a fan of the Dark Souls series, but my wife bought me Bloodborne a week or two ago, and man, I'm so hooked on that game. I'm garbage at it, but I am so hooked on that game.
It's good. I love that game too.
But the good thing about like Bloodborne is you can start off garbage, but as you go, you start to become like
I played the first 3 hours. I couldn't beat the first boss. I was like, I must have done something wrong. So I remade my character, changed a few things, and then literally ran through it and did it in 20 minutes. I was like,
there you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like legit. Like once you figure out the dance, then
that's all you need to do. Learn that dodge.
All right. And Eric, what you been playing this week?
I've been on for the last month or month and a half, actually, still on Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
And I think I mentioned this to you guys on Multiverse. I said, what I'm kind of doing or trying to do this year is not like rush through games. Like, because last year there was like so many games hitting, and it's going to be the same thing this year. But you always kind of feel like this pressure, like I gotta finish this one because the next one's coming out, and then you get, you move from one game and you move to the next. You kind of like, I don't even really remember what I did in the last game. So I'm really just like taking my time with certain games. I have certain ones lined up, and I said I'm just gonna, however long it takes, I get my fill, and I've just been enjoying this world. Just kind of like immersing myself in it, and I have plenty of ammunition and things to go and fight Ganon. And I can do that, but I just been kind of cruising through side quests and exploring the world. Like I'll run one way and I'm like, oh, what's over there? And next thing you know, I'm off on the other side of the map. So yeah, so I'm enjoying that. But next up, I have like Monster Hunter World. I just picked that up yesterday, so I got to get into that. And yeah, so most of the games I have lined up are big, huge open world games.
Yeah, see what I've been doing is I have one large game that I work on progressively, and then I'll play like shorter games in between to break it up.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Right now I'm playing Bloodborne. I'm gonna break that up with Shadow of the Colossus this week coming up, and then once I finish off Bloodborne, I'm gonna start Persona 5. And that will probably take me 2 months with my gaming schedule, but I'm really looking forward to that. Demi, what you been playing? Because I know you play just about everything under the sun.
Let's see, because I actually have a hefty gaming list I've been playing. But I'm gonna keep it short. Basically, I've been playing Dragon Ball FighterZ on both PlayStation and Xbox, and I just got through with Bully Scholarship Edition. Which, yeah, you see me tweet that actually, and I was like, okay. Sir. I'm gonna get this out the way. Now I've been playing Fable Anniversary and Shadow of War.
Those are some damn good games right there.
Yeah, man.
And then, on the Vita, which I still use, I've been playing The Wolf Among Us for like the 8th time in my life.
That's the only game I think I have the completion on 360, PS3, PS4, Xbox One. If I had a Vita, I'd probably have it completed too. Like,
that's Telltale's best game, hands down.
I'm prepping myself for season 2. That's why I'm just like, I want to replay this one more time.
I'm gonna do the same thing.
Season 2 with that engine upgrade they've had since then too.
Woo! I'm ready.
All right. So yeah, and I've just been chilling, playing Bloodborne, a few other small indie games and stuff, but. Now, on to the major topic for tonight. So, God of War, which has been in the works for years now, and I'm really excited because it's good to have a God of War title on PS4, because it just wouldn't feel like a PlayStation console without a God of War game on it.
I mean...
There will be no Kratos slander on this
podcast. Controversy already.
Anyone that knows me knows I'm primarily an Xbox guy, but one of the main things that always kept me buying PlayStations was God of War, one of my favorite Sony IPs. And it's really cool that it's coming back and everything else. So hype level wise, on a scale 1 to 10, where are you guys feeling this falls on the scale for you right now?
Oh, I'm at about a 6, but that's just because the first God of War I've ever played, I've only played it a couple weeks ago, and those God of War 3 remastered on the Pro. The first time I've ever played any of the series, so I have really no expectations or, standards that I need to have it hold up to. So I'm kind of going in there sort of blind.
I kind of envy that, though. I'm not going to front.
Yeah, actually, it's not a bad thing to go in blind because it's so much different than the previous titles. I like, besides backline story, which I don't know how much of an effect that's going to have in this title. Yeah, it'd be pretty cool going blind, actually. Eric, where are you sitting at for this?
I'm at about 8 or 9. Like, I don't like to go 10 because I don't want to overhype myself, but I'm definitely 8 or 9. Because I'm like you, like I've been God of War since day one. Like, I played all the games, love all the games. Ascension was probably the only one that I was kind of like, okay. But no, yeah. So I'm there, man. Day one, ready to go.
And what about you, Demi?
I'd say about a 6 or 7. I'm kind of right in the middle. I played God of War 3 Remastered, which wasn't a bad game, but I've necessarily never been like, oh my God, God of War, I have to play it. But I'm not going to like knock it. But this one, it has me intrigued because it's a much more different style and pacing of what I played from God of War 3. And I'm interested more so because I love the Nordic setting. I love the Viking styles, and I just love the mythology behind it.
Yeah, I think it was a big factor.
Yeah, see, that's what initially pulled me into God of War when I first saw it. Introduced for the PS2. I'm a huge, Greek mythology fan and even Norse mythology fan, so that's always been intriguing to me.
Yeah,
actually, I didn't even tell the whole. I didn't even tell the whole tale. Like I'm playing Breath of the Wild, but I actually just started up God of War 1 on the Vita, which because I was thinking, I actually asked Enrique and B Money this one in our DM. I said it's interesting that they haven't put God of War 1 and 2 on like PS4 as a PS2 classic.
I'm actually really surprised they didn't do like a collection. I remember talking to Rage about this, about how smart it would have been to do like a one and two bundle on the PS4 because they, as you said, they have the classic PS.
That'd be fantastic.
And they have it. I mean, it's ready to go. They remastered it before, so I don't know. Yeah. And I mean, it's not too late for them to do that because they're definitely. You can definitely see that they're backing this game, like the new God of War. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe next month or even early March that they come and say, "Yep, here it is." It may not be a tremendous amount of fanfare, but just drop it on the PS4. Say, "There you go, guys. Get ready."
Yeah, I could definitely see them doing that. So we're going to talk a little bit about gameplay direction, like the switch up in mythology. It's kind of interesting to me how it went from the Greek mythology, and you think how the last game ended, and now we're here. I'm hoping they handle some stuff in like a prologue or a flashback or something. But what's everyone's thoughts on setting and the new style of it? Like, how do you feel of the new God of War direction, basically?
It's the right way to go, I think. It seems like a lot more recently. It's the very heavy story-based not even first person, but like a story narrative kind of not walking simulator, but kind of like Uncharted, The Last of Us, this new God of War. The direction that they have taken seems to be the thing that everybody wants to be playing right now. So with the past success of previous Sony exclusives, it seems like it could be, it could pay off very, very well and cater to a lot of people's interests. But I'm very curious as to how many people won't end up liking it because God of War has been so actiony, arcade actiony, so to speak. So I'm interested. I'm optimistic that it would do very, very well, and I know it will. It's just maybe some people won't like it just because it's not actiony enough for them.
And I think I'm kind of wondering how the action will fall in. What that balance of story to action will be. But as a longtime fan, after playing Ascension, I kind of said, I stood back and I said, you know what, this has to change. Because, for me, Kratos started to feel like a holdover from like an era of gaming that we've kind of moved on. Some of us are older now. There's a new audience out there, but even in, that aggressive, screaming, constant, anger thing just kind of started to feel played out a little bit. And I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, and I found it interesting to hear that the head honchos at Sony weren't actually interested in continuing on with that, and they really had to convince them to do this game and really bring something new to the table. And I was asking for something new. I didn't know what, as a fan, what that would be. Like, do they go away from Kratos? Do they introduce a new, protagonist, or whatever the case may be? And taking it to a different realm, a different mythology, never saw that coming. And that immediately intrigued me. And changing the perspective and style definitely intrigued me. So, I'm interested to see what they do with it. And if anybody can bring that flavor, definitely be Cory Barlog.
Oh, for sure. I always felt with very much so with Naughty Dog as well. I'm not a huge fan of Naughty Dog games. I'm very much on the record of saying that. They're great games. They're just not for me necessarily. But I always felt with God of War, it was very much a passion project for Santa Monica Studios. They're fantastic. You can tell they love their game. Like most companies love their game, but there's a certain extent and passion you get from those guys if you watch interviews with them. And it's interesting to me the change in direction this game has, because watching the gameplay trailers for it really gives me like a Hellblade feel to it almost. With better camera angles. Like that was a thing with Hellblade that a lot of people had complaints about. But it really feels like that style, and you know what? If it's half as good as Hellblade, I won't complain.
No, me either. And And I actually think there is going to be like a good amount of action in the game. It's going to be something different. And I know people were like losing their minds over like the jump feature not being in there. That doesn't concern me as much. My only main concern was definitely, you know, the sun. I was like, please don't let this be like an annoying little like punk that you're just like, you know, chaperoning around. And
that seems to be everybody's concern, more so the sun than anything else. Is that little brat going to be annoying as hell when we walk through all this crap?
I want to pitch something to you guys. I was playing a game a couple of weeks back, and it really hit me. I'm pretty sure everyone on this panel's played it, but when I was starting to look at Atreus and what they could do as him being an NPC character that's always with you and everything else. One of the best. Everyone's always worried that with God of War's new direction, that's going to be like constant. Oh, Atreus is stuck in a wall. Oh God, Atreus, where'd Atreus go? Or oh, I'm going to fail the game because Atreus fell off a cliff.
Damn it, Atreus!
But from watching the gameplay trailers and what they've shown so far, I'm getting a very Elizabeth BioShock Infinite feel.
Yeah.
For how Atreus is going to complement, like some of those combos you can do, like the combat combos with him, look amazing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and they confirmed. Like I just read the Game Informer article, and he's pretty much just like an extension of, you know, Kratos' weapon arsenal. You know, he's not all powerful. He shouldn't get himself in too much trouble. But he's kind of there to help you with, you know, combos and to help you, you know, in combat.
He's more so there to follow up with range combos and attacks.
Right. So that definitely makes me feel better, you know.
And it's interesting because I know, Demi, you went to PSX, correct?
See, I did.
Did you happen to stop by the God of War booth?
I didn't get a chance. It was too packed.
Ah, man. It's interesting because a couple of people that went to PSX were talking about the God of War booth, and they said that there was a heavy focus on Atreus and not as much focus on Kratos. Do you think that with the new direction and everything else there, that maybe God of War is shifting to maybe at the end of this game, Atreus is going to become the main character and Kratos may become discarded?
I've been feeling that hint since like I first seen it. I've called that. And if that happens, I'm like, everybody needs to give me $5. Seriously.
You feel that in the story trailer, though. And I just watched it. I could kind of get that feeling that, you know, he might end up taking over God of like Kratos' place.
Well, you get that vibe because, like, I feel like that ties into the whole, we can't jump drama. Like, Kratos is clearly aged. Like, I don't know, like, through all those God of War games previous, he was young, he was angry, and now he seems like old, still angry.
50 years and 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And he's still very much, you know, from what the things I read, he's still like a god. But I've actually had like a little talk about this with Sam Tober, who's actually in the chat, and I said I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of exit Kratos in this game.
I would be surprised, and I think it would be a good move in the aspect if they're going to take the game in a new direction. Kratos is like the last piece that ties it into the original games, and I think if they write it out and do the story in a great way, and they do it in enough of a fan service way, and the ending's good enough, I think they won't have a problem moving on from it.
No, definitely not.
No, and that's okay. Sorry, go ahead, Jimmy.
Now remember that Corey did say that he did plan for more God of Wars in different areas. So looking at it, Kratos has to age, and if he ages, he won't be able to see those areas. So it's kind of being hinted at that the kid will take over, kind of.
Yeah, and there's just some locales that I just couldn't see Kratos being in. Like, okay, we're going to do Kratos. Kratos breaks into Assassin's Creed Origins.
Watch out, Rob. Here he comes.
Oh boy!
You know?
Egyptian gods are going on vacation when Kratos shows up for holidays. And there's been some insane fan theories going on too. There's Atreus is actually Loki. There's a whole bunch of like wild
Or
fan
Thor.
theories.
Yo,
you know,
Yeah.
if that's a twist, I'd flip. Like, yo,
I would too. I'd literally throw my PS4 console out the window. I'd be like, "What is this?"
I use my hat, and I don't even own a hat. That's seriously good.
Yeah,
But real
I don't know.
talk, though, I'm really excited for this game because I feel like the writing is going to be off the wall with this game. And like I feel like in previous God of Wars, they were really good. And the gameplay and the fights with like the boss fights are really what sold it. And this game looks like it still has that dynamic,
Right.
but also looks like they've grown. And I have a huge appreciation for developers that keep going with their IP, but they grow the IP with the fan base. And it feels like God of War is going in that direction.
Right. And the thing is, where Kratos is concerned, and the games that we've gone through with him, you cared for Kratos in terms of Kratos was a badass. And we all like a good badass. That's why we love Batman. That's why we love, Bruce Lee. We love a good badass, right? But did you ever feel for Kratos? The first game dealt very much like with what happened to his family. But as the games went on, you're like, Kratos is Kratos is a dick.
I can sense that in God of War 3. I'm playing for the first time and going around. He's like, yeah, he's a badass, but he's a kind of dick.
Yeah. So it looks like what they're trying to do is actually give Kratos that soul where you kind of feel for his outcome and like what may happen to him.
It's kind of like it's being put in the more Logan perspective because we all love Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
Man, if they do a Logan style, like I'm not saying cut and paste, but if this God of War game turns out like Logan turned out, bruh.
Think about that. Taking a risk and having like a payoff. You know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to like gaming and movies and things like that, things that we kind of came up on, nostalgia is powerful. So it's hard for us to let go of things. But if the person that's handling the content does it in the right way, it makes sense. Like, you can't just abruptly end something, but you can definitely transition something.
And I feel like Corey has a very good understanding of what their fan base is and what his fan base expects, but he knows his fan base well enough to gear the game so it still appeals. Like there is some people that feel disenfranchised by the gameplay switch, and it is a huge switch. Like I get where people are coming from, but I, for one, like as I said before, I like to see growth. Growth is super important in an IP, and I can't think of too many IPs that have changed this much from one game to the next as God of War has in this. There probably is some, but I can't think of any on the top of my head.
Dynamic gameplay change? No way. There's nothing else other than like the only remotely closest thing I've noticed recently was Assassin's Creed Origins. Is that wasn't even as big of a huge jump from gameplay mechanic wise.
I wouldn't say that because the combat changed significantly.
Oh yeah, it was big, but I mean, like in the whole aspect it gets across the board, sort of thing, going from the old hack and slash action combat God of War to this new kind of story narrative driven experience is completely kind of night and day difference.
And being open world and them saying it's about a 30-hour game too with side objectives too. And I think the side objectives can be really cool because if they choose to really dive into Norse mythology, the potential with side quests is absolutely amazing.
On and on and on. That's my favorite mythology too, so I'm quite excited.
Now, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things, some of the downsides that people on the internet, because everyone on the internet are lovely people.
Big facts.
Just a lovely bunch of coconuts.
All right. So there's a couple of dramas we're going to cover. I'm going to try to keep the fanboy nonsense to a minimal on this one. I'm not going to direct quote tweet anyone because that would just be mean. Okay, so the first thing was the boat. The boat was the first drama I remember reading about. This broke before the Kratos can't jump because he got Derek Roseneese.
Okay, all right. As a Chicago native, we're gonna leave Derek Rose out of this one, please. Please.
All right. So Corey came out and said in a interview, I think it was with Game Informer, I can't remember the exact, like, he came out and said that about 25% of the map was explorable via boat. And everyone freaked out. They're like, oh, they're just filling the world with empty water and everything to make the game feel bigger. And the boat's going to be an annoying mechanic and yada, yada.
All these game designers.
Yeah. So what's everyone's thought on the open world feel and maybe having to traverse to certain areas back and forth with using the boat? Is it that big of a deal, or is it just people on the internet blowing stuff out of proportion as per usual?
Here's a real question. Have they played The Witcher 3 before?
Facts. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, there's a perfect example where I think there's way more boat traversal and back and forth crap they have to deal with in The Witcher 3 than compared to what the new God of War might.
I just started playing The Witcher 3. I'm about 12 hours in. I am damn tired of riding around on a horse.
Oh, dude, just wait till you get to Skellige and you have to travel around on the boat to all the little islands and crap. Just wait for it. Wait for it.
Great. I'm going to spend 10 hours of game time in a boat.
But when you get there, oh, man.
I finished this island in like 45 minutes, off to the next 20 other islands there are in this area. Oh, crap.
Right.
Oh, there we go.
Or did people skip Dragon Age Inquisition when most of it was like climbing mountains?
Yeah,
God.
that's true. That's true.
Oh, God. Anyone play Skyrim where you had to glitch mount up? Never mind. We're not
glitching up a mountain with a horse? Yes, I did.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, here's another one. Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Not Breath of the Wild. Not just that, but oh my goodness, Wind Waker.
No, yeah, I mean, that's the whole game is water.
Yeah.
You know?
You spend 45 minutes traveling from one island to the next just so you can go to the next temple.
See, I had a conversation. I had a conversation with J-Main on Twitter there a couple weeks back when everyone was talking about this boat drama. I said, you know what ultimately would just make me happy if they put boat races in. If I can boat race Loki and Thor, I'm in.
Look,
I want Odin grumpily sitting on a beach chair watching me boat race Thor and Loki. That's all I want.
Stroke.
There has to be a part where Atreus is paddling the boat and Kratos is just staying there looking at him going, go faster.
Right. Now I have to imagine, okay, like there's got to be a method to that madness if there's, you know, if it leads into, you know, you're exploring and it leads into certain areas. If you just stop at certain points and there's something interesting off on this distance, then that makes sense. And then, I'm sure there'll be fast travel points.
Yep.
But hey, leave it to the internet to overreact.
Yeah, true. And what's really interesting, why I'm actually excited for too, Tommy brought it up in the chat too. There's no loading screens with God of War, which is phenomenal.
Crazy. Really?
Yeah.
No loading screens whatsoever.
They want it to be like one continuous cut, like all the way through.
I haven't experienced a loading screen in a game for a minute, actually.
Yeah, it's like people have gotten pretty clever with hiding them.
And
if I have, it's usually when I first boot up the game.
Right.
Like Yakuza 0 and Kiwami, I've never experienced a loading screen unless it was booting up the actual world.
I like that.
Interesting.
I like games that load up the whole world and you don't have to wait at a loading screen, because I find nothing takes away from like being in the zone of a game. Like, oh yeah, I gotta go to this area, and then it's like loading. Like the worst one for that, I remember buying Skyrim day one on Xbox 360. Oh my god!
You want to talk about bad loading screens? Let's talk about Just Cause.
I got that on. I got Just Cause 3 on the PS Plus, and I was like, I need to play this game. I haven't played this game. Booted it up, loading the first area. I'm sitting there like, my PS4 gonna explode? It's sitting there grinding away. I'm like, 1 minute. It's like a minute and a half later. I'm like, okay.
You can make you a sandwich. You can get something to eat. You can do whatever you need to do. You can play Elo Vita, Switch, 3DS. Just Cause has some of the worst loading screens on console I've ever experienced.
All right, so boats, not a big issue. Hopefully there's boat races. We'll see.
Well, until after the fact. I mean, if the game launches and the boats are an issue, then, we'll We'll have a field day. We'll come back on here. We'll go in on them.
Before you get to the next topic, there's something I do want to see from God of War. Remember how Hellblade was very Norse mythology included?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I kind of want to see a nod if we ever go into the supernatural with this game, which I feel like we will. Like, remember the final fight for those who have played it, and you had to literally kill yourself?
Yes.
I kind of want to see like a nod or an Easter egg or something towards that.
That would be pretty cool.
I would not be surprised if we see something like that down the line.
Like,
I would not be surprised at all.
Like, if you play Horizon, you've seen the arena from what's that game? From Riggs in the background. Or like you get to a later area.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's kind of like I want to see a nod. Like I want to see more nods toward like other games because they're including certain stuff in other game worlds. So I'm just like, if they do this, I have to see like a nod towards
I would not be
like,
surprised if you see a nod to Hellblade or anything along those lines because Corey was a huge fan of that game, and that game came out long enough or early enough that I could definitely see him being like, "Hey guys, can we put something in here?"
Yeah,
like I could definitely see that happening. I'm with you. Like one of my favorite things about some video games is Easter eggs. Some of the Easter eggs are just brilliant, and I think Sony does a really good job with their first party IPs for it. And what's another one does really good? Trying to think of the game. I was playing a game the other day, and there was like 7 Easter eggs in one go, and I was like, "Holy!" I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, some nods to other ones would be cool. I'm going to point out what Samuel Tolbert said in the chat. I'm kind of want to see it too. I want to see Odin or Thor just utterly destroy Kratos in a fight.
Yeah,
just to make it clear that it's a whole different mythology.
Like on that level of like Bane breaking Batman's back.
Yeah.
Because Kratos has survived so much that he should have just got wrecked from. We have to be honest. Kratos has survived way too much.
Yeah. Kratos has been impaled by like every guy, and just brought back. He's been in Hades like how many times?
I need Thor just to like rain down like hell upon Kratos. Just the hammer just laying down lightning.
Yeah, because that would be like dope. Kratos, like them actually knowing of Kratos and him being that legend, and he thinks he's the big bad boy, and it's just like, nah, just get handled, just get mopped up, That'd be great.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool to see. Now, the biggest controversy with this game, which is the absolute blows my mind that this was talked about for a week. Kratos can't jump.
I don't know. Maybe he's just too old.
That was my immediate response. I'm sitting there going, he's old now. You hit your 50s and try a jump.
Yeah, exactly. Tell your go to your grandfather and say, "Hey, can you jump like a few feet from me?" Why? Just because.
Okay, so Kratos ain't gonna be dunking on anybody anytime soon. So we ain't gonna see Kratos playing basketball. Do you think this was a conscious choice? Do you think the lack of aerial, like, I don't look at it as like, oh no, we're not gonna have any platforming bits anymore. Games getting rid of platforming bits, that's good. I'm okay with that. That can go out the window. I hate platforming elements. But do you think while you're playing the game, you're gonna miss the aerial combat? Do you think that will be something you miss, or
no? No.
I mean, if we're going to be honest here, we have kind of moved away from towards the Devil May Cry and Bayonetta-ish combat. So, and I think Hellblade has made an effect to where they're like, damn, okay, maybe we want to take it to more of a slow and steadier pace. Because not only have people kind of stepped away from that outside of like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta themselves, but a lot of gamers are now starting to feel more like, I want a slower paced title.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want something that's challenging me to the extent of, oh my God, I can't handle this.
Right. No, I found it funny. I saw someone say, it's not God of War. Like, if you can't jump, I'm like, God of War was never predicated on Kratos' jumping. That was like the last thing I ever thought about, was that Kratos could jump.
Now, if I ain't got no crazy supernatural moves, I'm going to be more upset.
Mm-hmm. But it was always about visceral moves.
Yeah.
You know, and in the combat. And I mean, if that's still there, and it looks like it will be, then so what? He can't jump.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure, you know, other mechanics will be there that you won't even think about it.
And see, for me, I think with well, they took away the aerial combat, having the combo moves you can do with your son. I think that complements what they're going for with the gameplay direction as well. Like some of those combo moves they showed off in that last trailer. Oh boy!
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it looks sweet.
Him leaping off that monster and shooting it with the bow. It's just like, oh boy, this is gonna be fun. Like I'm sitting there going, who cares about jumping? Atreus can do all the jumping.
Right. Launch him in the air, you know.
So, you know, at the end of the day, it's not going to be a huge deal.
No.
You know, Kratos isn't going to be getting any Jordans sent to him.
Oh my
God.
Oh, geez.
Kratos looks like more of an Adidas guy anyway.
Right. Oh, there you go. It almost seems like a lot of the newer games, how I keep mentioning the story narrative driven sort of games, they seem to not need to have a jumping mechanic in the game. They do just fine on their own on the ground.
I think, as Demi said, a lot of these games have moved away from that direction. I'm really interested to see when the new Devil May Cry shows up and hits trailers and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
What that's going to look like, because I feel like they may change the direction they went with previous titles as well.
Well, you remember people got pissed when Ninja Theory took over DMC.
Oh my god!
You know,
it wasn't a bad game though.
It's a good game. I mean, again, I'm a huge fan of Devil May Cry. I was all for it, and I thought the game was great.
Yeah, the combat was on par with Devil May Cry 3 to me.
Yeah, they dug into the lore. The lore was there. You know, I thought it was great. And that's the thing. People just get too protective of their nostalgia. It's not so much, you know, something with the game changing or whatever. It's just they're protective of their nostalgia. They just want something to hold on to that reminds them of a certain point in their life.
Yeah.
But my thing is, it's like, you got to move things forward. You know what I'm saying? I'm all for that. Anyone who can move something forward in a meaningful way, I'm all for. You know, and that's pretty much any franchise. You know, I love like Chief, I love Marcus, I love all those guys too. But if we can move these things forward, that's a great thing. That's a positive.
Yeah.
Just imagine 100%. If you could jump in Gears of War.
It just wouldn't feel right, would it? I think these future games have been trying to make that input to make the characters more believable and more fleshed out. Like hell, even in Halo 5, they attempted to flesh out Chief and give him some type of emotion and like make him go against Cortana.
Oh man.
And from the rumors I've read about Devil May Cry was that this is a much more serious Dante. He's less goofier. He's supposed to be like he's on a quest to do something. So you know, I'm curious to see what are they gonna like purposely do for Dante.
Me too. Yeah. Me too. I think it's great. Character evolution is great.
Yeah.
You know, and here's the thing. I mean, moving things forward is always great, but for your nostalgia, you always have the past to go back to.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, like I'll never stop playing, you know, like Master Chief Collection, you know, Gears 1, 2, 3. Like I always have those, but I now I'm at a point where I want to see those go forward, and I'll always have, you know, God of War, like the Kratos that I came up with to go back and experience, you know.
You know, Call of Duty is actually a good series to think about, to keep that in mind when you're thinking about that subject too, because they long time ago they tried going, you know, more futuristic and more futuristic, and some of them paid out, some of them not so much. Then they realized, you know, Battlefield 1 did so well because they went back to old school World War fighting. Let's try World War II again, and that paid off, I think, huge for the whole series in general. And that means, you know, sometimes going back to the old school, to, you know, the nostalgia days, isn't that bad. It could be a good thing to revitalize the series.
Yeah, it's never bad to, if you go forward, it's never bad to look back too, as long as you're moving forward in the process.
Right.
I think a lot of games are starting to realize that. I think that's why we've had so many good sequels and new IPs this generation, is because a lot of companies are realizing this. A lot of devs understand that people want growth, but they still want the relatable content that they love, and finding that middle line for a lot of people is really hard, and hitting that mark can be hard. But when it hits, it's beautiful.
Right.
This is why so many people get more put into The Last of Us, because it's a mature game that actually hit a mature level, just like The Walking Dead, just like Life is Strange. These are all titles that kind of hit something new. Well, they didn't necessarily hit anything new. They just put a different perspective on something that has happened before.
Exactly. All right, and the last piece of drama, and this was drummed out. This wasn't actually a criticism by actual serious people, but I kind of want to get everyone's inputs on it. That Santa Monica Studios basically Last of Us, the God of War series, and that it's following the so-called Sony cookie cutter, how to make a single-player game experience. Well, do you guys think there's any truth behind that? Do you find that this game has gone in that direction, or do you think that it's just that this is the direction that single-player story-based games are going? Or like, what are your thoughts on that whole drama around it?
Maybe there's a little bit of truth to it in some areas, for sure. I mean, that type of gameplay mechanic has kind of paid off quite substantially well for them. There's no reason for them to divert from it right now. But at the same time, I kind of have been, not a feeling, but kind of seen a slight change in what people want out of their games now. They're kind of, maybe we're all getting tired of the typical old school, games that have been played out. You get a short cinematic intro sort of thing, you get the gameplay introduction, and then you get some quests. Here's your small tutorial, then off you go, sort of thing. But there's been no heavy set story attachment to it until slightly recently. But even then, they've kind of diverted the way old games have been made, and they're trying something new. But that's only really paid off in the past few years, and they've been seeing, okay, this isn't the typical way we've been making games, but for some reason it's been paying off substantially well. Why don't we keep trying to stay this way? It's not doing anything harmful to them as a company.
Nope.
Just try it out. It's just changing the game, it's changing the story, it's changing how it's played, and people are eating it up. They like the change. They like something new, fresh.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I definitely, I don't want people to take this as a bad thing, but I feel like even if there is a formula for how The Last of Us, Uncharted, God of War, all these games kind of mesh together, it's not a bad thing because they're really, really good games, and the formula they use is really, really good. And I definitely have no complaints with that direction, especially with God of War, with the new gameplay style, the new story. I think it'll be a very good, the title's matured, so to speak. And I definitely think, even if it's comparable to other games that Sony has put out in first party, I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, and I think the thing that there is some truth to, they all kind of share like a resemblance, but I think what that really just comes down to is perspective. It's the decision on the perspectives that they're taking, with the characters, like the cameras and things like that. But outside of that, so far, we'll see how God of War plays out, which the gameplay and content is wildly different from game to game to game. But their tone is, and their style is pretty much the same. It's all about, great character arcs, great story, and, combat, where it's needed. So Uncharted, while it resembles a lot of The Last of Us, they look like it could be in the same universe. Their gameplay is different.
Yeah.
And the approach is different. And I think it'll be the same thing with God of War. But Sony's thing definitely right now seems to be very much around, getting their player invested in the character and into the world. So yeah. So yeah, there's something there to be said about that. But yeah, again, overreactions, that's debatable, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think everyone spun it as a bad thing. I think it pays Sony a compliment when I say that their games all have similarities, but it's not in a bad way. It's not like boring and repetitive. I like how they build their characters. I like how they build up their IPs. I have an appreciation for how they build the stories, and they don't necessarily build up a character all in one game. There's like, if you look even at how Nathan Drake progressed as a person through the whole Uncharted series.
Yeah.
And how his character peaked in Uncharted 4. That's good storytelling. And I really will never fault anyone for good storytelling. As far as having similar gameplay designs and everything else, it's whatever. I don't really care. The game's good. It's good. I just want a good game.
Yeah.
Demi, any input on that?
I mean, you can see The Last of Us all over this game, but that's not really a bad thing per se. The Last of Us is a critically acclaimed game, so why would I not want to try to take the mold of a game that's made from how many awards and try to like improvise what I can by borrowing certain things and still giving it my own taste and difference.
Yeah, but I will say they have to be careful of when to pull out of that.
Yeah.
You know, because you can stay in it too long and people start to like really go, okay, you know, these are all starting to run together now.
Yeah, because it was a game I played that got inspiration from Zelda, kind of damn near was almost Zelda by itself. Like, if you really just put Zelda on it, it would not be a different game. And then that was Oceanhorn. Like, they took the entire Zelda concept.
Right. And I was like, that is Wind Waker.
Yeah, they brought everything from Zelda possible. But they put their own little twist on it. Like, the bosses were cool and everything else. But that's one of those examples where you can't go in too deep with that kind of borrowing, because I'm going to be like, well, you know, I could have just played Zelda on my Nintendo Switch or something if I really wanted to play Zelda.
Yeah.
But
you have to play a very careful line. Like, there's another game that just dropped on Switch, which is pretty much A Link to the Past. I'm drawing a blank on the name of it right now. But in the reviews and the way people talk about it, I mean, they're unapologetically, it is, you know, A Link to the Past. But they said, but the game is doing something on its own. It's almost like the difference in you're paying an homage while bringing your own flavor.
Yeah.
You got it, and it's a very careful, it's a risky move. You got to play that. You got to toe that line really carefully.
It's a really thin line, and it's something not necessarily with God of War. I don't think with God of War we're going to see Sony being really cutting the line close. Is how close Days Gone lands to The Last of Us 2. I think that will be because that game feels very much like The Last of Us, which, once again, no complaints.
Right.
But it could be really telling if the formula doesn't play out for Days Gone. They might change directions on how they do things. But I love the first party lineup this year. I love the stories they're telling and everything else. And there's enough variations in the characters that they may have a certain gameplay style that these games all share, but the stories and everything else embellish it. It's like if you take the base, but you add a bunch of stuff on top of it. Yeah, the base is the same, but you don't recognize the base because of all the other elements to it.
That's actually kind of been my gripe with Days Gone. It does feel like too much of The Last of Us, and I'm kind of hoping that stays away, because I just don't want it to be another cookie cutter zombie game. Because zombie games are my favorites, believe it or not. I just don't want it to be another one of the same. And it kind of bites too much of The Last of Us.
I've been watching some of the dev videos for that. I think it'll do okay. They're doing a bunch of different things. I think they just haven't shown enough of it to get people not necessarily hyped for it, because there are people that are hyped for it. But they haven't done a good job at showing what's different about the game than other games.
Right.
There are things going forward that game is going to do really, really well. People aren't talking about it right now, but when that game drops, I'd almost guarantee that it's got some game changers in it. But that's for another
But what I appreciate though is like, Sony's kind of saying to Blue Point, okay, well, we had you doing some remastered stuff. Now go out and, spread your wings. Let's see what you can bring back to the fold.
Yeah.
Kind of like what they did with Gorilla. And that is something that I do appreciate about Sony.
Wait, Days Gone isn't Blue Point?
Not Blue Point. I'm sorry.
Sony Bend.
Sony Bend. Why am I? Blue Point's been in the news so much lately.
Blue Point is doing Shadow of the
Colossus. Yeah.
He's saying he's so excited for Shadow of the Colossus. He's just like, Blue Point, I love you guys. It's great.
Yeah, Blue Point's been a lot of talk this week. So yeah, that's why. I'm sorry. Yeah. Sony Bend. So they're kind of letting them take a shot at it. But again, that's going to be a game that it's going to be a make or break game in a way. Like, hopefully, it brings something to catch you because it does look very similar to a lot of the things that we played, But quickly, speaking of Shadow of the Colossus, I'm jealous of those who have never played that game and going into it for the first time.
That'll be me.
Oh man, I'm jealous of you again, bro.
I'm so excited. Just seeing all the comparisons of when it first came out on like PS2 and then the PS3. And then now, and you go, holy crap, that's
Bro, that's a special
that
game.
Looks
man.
Damn good. Holy.
Yeah. When I played that game back on the PS2, I was just like, it's one of those games that you put the controller down when you're done. You're like, damn, that's a game. That's an experience.
That's what's exciting, and that's something I think a lot of current games don't even have right now. Is that kind of emphasis on the story and on all the game experience itself, and you go, oh man, that was just mind-blowingly awesome. I would love to play this game again, but I can't do it right now because I don't want to wear it out, sort of thing.
Right. And Tuesday, playing Shadow of the Colossus when it comes up, that'll be the first time I played it actually since being on the PS2. I did have the remastered on PS3, started to play it, but never actually got back in and finished it. And then when they announced this, and I was like, well, that's never going to happen.
I ain't touching this thing.
No. On top of that, I really don't want to hook up a PS3 again. It's just too slow and whatever. That's a whole different thing. But but yeah, I'm jealous of you, man. So I definitely want to hear your thoughts. Once you get into it.
Oh, I'll happily write down my thoughts if Loot Gaming gives you the opportunity to be the sole reviewer for it, but I doubt it because there's a lot of PS guys on my end. I have to deal with Rambo.
Good luck with that.
I know. He's going to be having it done in the first 2.5 days. All side quests, everything in platinum, and so I'm just sitting there like, I just started.
No, but Shadow is one of those games that definitely inspired a generation of game creators going forward. You
could as Silver Sky in the chat pointed out, you can feel the Shadow of Colossus influence in Breath of the Wild hugely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And actually, speaking of Breath of the Wild, I know in some ways, it was like people's, that game of the year was kind of polarizing in other arenas or whatever. There are definitely things that annoy me about that game, but again, I appreciate Nintendo for kind of stepping back and kind of listening to what fans were saying. They were getting a little tired of the formula of Zelda and wanted something different, and they kind of borrowed from a lot of different things. And I'm hoping that they learned a lot from doing Breath of the Wild, so their next Zelda adventure will be a little tighter. Because they took a lot of different systems and kind of put them all in. But I kind of appreciate them kind of pushing to that envelope. I'm all for people trying to give a different experience, taking that risk, trying something different,
It's something I think a lot of companies need to start doing and not being afraid of doing more often, because that seems to have been paying off substantially for almost everybody that does it.
Yeah.
Take a head dive into something new, something bold and brave and brash, and most of the time it usually pays off, especially if it's something that in previous games let's say they cater to a certain model type of gameplay, and they go, okay, well let's fashion after this and take a little bit of this and add a little bit of that, and
right. And I'm hoping that like Rod Ferguson with Coalition, they really start taking some chances on the Gears franchise.
Oh my gosh!
I hope they just take chances in general. Just not
Yeah,
years.
you know.
Well, it's really funny because I really didn't want to get into talking multi-console right now, but hey, it's pretty much the end of the show. I really wanted to avoid this, but why you guys do this to me? I feel very much like my Xbox One with the first-party titles I have on it and everything else. It still feels very much like my Xbox 360. In terms of what the games offer, I feel like with the PlayStation 4 and what Sony has done really, really well is they've really driven their games forward. Like whether you look at, they've got remasters coming out. They have Shadow of the Colossus coming out. They've got new IPs. They had Guerrilla go, okay, Killzone didn't really do that well. So you know what? You guys make a new IP.
Mhm.
Show us what you can do. And we got Horizon Zero Dawn. Not my most favorite of all time game, but a damn good game that was really well received. And like when new IP does really well, you know you did something right. We're not talking about this, Emmy.
Wait. Hold on. We're not just gonna skim past that. Like you just didn't say it though. Like you didn't like Horizon?
Oh man,
It was okay. I got
Okay, so I why the hell did this took a while?
This could be a different podcast too, because I actually said this on Twitter one day. I said, you know why Horizon Zero Dawn is a great new IP? I said because months after it's been out, it's still a game that comes up in conversation. Games that are trash don't do that.
Exactly. And see, my biggest thing is I try to avoid calling games trash because if I don't like a game, it's because I don't like the game. It doesn't mean the game's garbage.
No, because a lot of people put work into that. I'll never like.
Yeah, I will never sit there and be like, I didn't like Horizon Zero Dawn.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It really depends on the game. Being the guy that dies in indies.
Okay, indie games can be a whole different ball game. There can be some real.
Games like stop making games.
Okay,
you guys are trash.
Oh man, I'm still getting flashbacks to LA Cops, man.
I'm sorry.
Like the development studio that seriously made My Name is Mayo and Mr. Masagi. What are you doing?
Okay, like Life of Black China. It's like, guys, you're trash. Go away.
Hey,
There's always an exception.
Hey, those two gave me great platinums. My Name is Mayo. Mr. Masagi would be left alone. Leave those alone.
But I won't call a game trash if I don't like it. I came off of like when I started playing Horizon Zero Dawn. When I first played Horizon Zero Dawn, I just finished. What did I finish? I did Shadow of Mordor, and I think it was 2 playthroughs of Mafia 3.
Yeah.
Just finished doing those 2 games, and then I tried to do Horizon Zero Dawn. And I was just like.
I can tell you what it is. I can tell you exactly what it was. You had open world fatigue, which I think I'm hitting
just
myself.
Just gonna say that. You were burnt out. You're burnt out in open world RPGs.
Yeah, bro. Because you mentioned at the top of the show, like putting games in between. Because when I'm done with Breath of the Wild, I can't because I have Witcher 3 that I have to finish. I still haven't finished it. I'm like, but I can't. I know I can't jump right back into that. And even with Monster Hunter World, I'm like, okay, I know I got to jump into that at some point. But yeah, it's just open world fatigue is real, man.
Yeah, and I'm going to definitely go back at some point this year and give Horizon Zero Dawn another go because I think I definitely had open world fatigue at that point because Mafia 3 was, while I enjoyed it, it was, oh boy, that was repetitive.
But I hear that the story is like a great story.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of how I felt about Mafia 2. Like I didn't do a lot of the side stuff in Mafia 2, but the story was great. I just kind of went through the story and was done.
Yeah.
So I'm going to probably do the same thing eventually.
Horizon Zero Dawn's a great game. I wasn't a huge fan of it, unfortunately. But a lot of these games that Sony's playing out, they give you a different feeling. And by giving their studios the creative freedom they have, we've had some great games. And if you want to look into the future, like what Hideo Kojima's doing, that could be it could potentially be the most groundbreaking video game we ever see, or it could just be really convoluted, confusing garbage. It could go either way. I'm really excited for it personally. but these freedoms and then taking risks, because it's no secret that Ascension did not sell well. It underperformed for God of War title majorly.
It was almost the end of them being done with the franchise. They were almost I was like, nah, we're good.
Sony Santa Monica, I really have high hopes for this game because they had a lot of issues because if you followed the studio, Ascension underperformed, and then they had a new IP that got canceled that they had in the works. It got folded. I can't remember if there was a working name for it, but it was like 2 years into production and they folded it. And with this new God of War, it's new, but it's not new. So they're using the God of War name to get out there, and they're doing a bunch of great things to make it different and try something new, but they still have the name and everything else. I think it's a really smart move for the game, and I hope it pays off for them, because so far this generation, any bets or changes that Sony has made have paid off majorly for them, with the exception of a few oddball ones like The Order 1886, which I still one of my favorite PlayStation games.
Dude, you know what? That game to me, and when you talk about the console war side of things, kind of got caught up in people kind of wanting some payback for how console warriors try to trash Rise.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know they get compared a lot. I'm like, again, wildly different games. I'm like, Rise is a good game, and while The Order may not be it may have be lacking some things, I'm like, The Order is not a bad game.
It's not.
No.
And my thing is, I've seen a lot of quote unquote Xbox guys trash The Order, and I'm like, but
Rise wasn't that great of a cookie either.
No. And see, for me, I think I'm kind of biased in my love of Rise and Order 1886.
Mm-hmm.
I got Rise with the Seasons Pass free with Games with Gold. Mm-hmm. So I didn't pay anything for it, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Order 1886 I picked up for $2 at a pawn shop. And I absolutely loved that game. Yeah, it was too short. Yeah, the werewolf fighting was kind of mediocre. It could have been done a bit better. And let me tell you, when you make a cliffhanger plot like that and you don't get a sequel,
here's the Order's problem. If the Order was Hellblade $30, the Order would have been fine.
Oh yeah.
But when people bought it, it was $60. But at the same time, it kind of hit at a time where things were a little whatever. And if the Order came out now, I don't think the Order would have been $60.
It hit at an awkward time where people were still learning the tech, and I remember reading about how they're using the MSAA technology and all of that extra stuff. I'm like, bro, just it's cool for those who are tech heads, but just give us the game.
Yeah,
the lore was probably some of the most interesting stuff about the Order. But it just wasn't fully fleshed out. You had the werewolves, and then you had the hint of vampires in the background, and then you had this brooding war that was starting to peel off, but you just didn't get the opportunity to make a sequel.
Right, and then you tie it back into the Knights of the Round Table. Man, I'm like, come on, man. There's all kinds of potential in this franchise, Yeah. But if anybody is going to go back to it and we'll try it again, Sony would.
Yeah, I've seen rumors. I've heard rumors too that they're talking about it.
Right.
Talking about going back into it, but whether they do or not, but just the technical, as Demi said, people may not have appreciated it. It was too short. There were some missed opportunities by the studio, but it was such a good game. It's a shame that it was squandered by those specific issues. It had a lot of potential. I feel like if they hadn't focused so much on spending cash on how they did the cutscenes and everything else and put more of that into the gameplay, it might have turned out different. It might not have, but it was definitely a great IP. And it's funny because I was overly critical of it before I played it. I was like, it's only 6 hours and all that kind of jazz. But after I played it, I was like, damn, this is one of my new favorite IPs.
It was funny. It was funny watching a lot of the back and forth on Rise and Order, because they both get accused for the same things. I'm like, Order's repetitive. I'm like, they're both repetitive, but it doesn't take away from the fact that they're interesting.
See, for me, the Order 1886, if it was managed a little bit better and maybe they sunk a little bit more money into it, I felt like it could have been Sony's Gears of War. They could have tacked the multiplayer onto it. They could have. It would have been fantastic.
Right.
That's probably the only thing why they would have didn't do good, because yes, it had the Gears cover system, and it could have just been. It low key could have been Sony's Gears of War.
Yeah, and that's what I said too. Like, it got trashed by certain things. But I'm like, but it had cool weapon ideas.
Tesla
like,
cannons and all.
cool, yeah, and then you tie Nikola Tesla into it. I'm like, come on, man. There's a big concept that's going on here.
It could have been like a Victorian era underworld.
Yeah.
Yep. No, it had so much potential, and the engine they made that engine worked beautifully. That game ran amazing.
Yep.
The only engine that's come out this generation that's better might be the Decima engine, hands down.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I think that about wraps up everything.
Before we wrap it up, I just want to say, Yakuza comes out the same week as God of War, so I know what I'm buying. That's all I gotta say.
If it ain't God of War, we gonna have problems, damn.
I'm Blazer Boys official, so you know how it's going.
Yeah,
I still gotta finish Yakuza 0. I have Kwame sitting here, and then I have the next one on pre-order. So they're gonna be stacked up, but I'm gonna get to them.
Oh yeah, I got my collector's edition ready and waiting.
I got my collector's edition pre-ordered too. I managed to actually snag the steel books for Zero and Kiwami at my GameStop for like $15.
Oh my god!
Wow. I got Kwame for $19 over Black Friday, so I didn't do too bad with that one.
I got a buddy that hooks me up whenever someone trades in steelbook editions. He gives me a call, and I usually pick them up that day. So get some pretty decent steelbooks along the way.
Nice.
And yeah, so that pretty much wraps it up. Oh, one last thing. If they do announce it, PS4 Pro God of War Edition, anyone throwing down to like $500 for that? No.
Man, I was telling B Money I need that thing to be ugly because I don't want to be tempted.
Man, I sat there. I looked at my wife when that Monster Hunter PS4 Pro came out, and I was like, might have to sell one of my kids for that.
Oh,
and then when I saw it was like $700, $800 people were selling it for in the States, I was like, man, that's gonna be like $1,000 up here. That ain't happening.
Oh yeah, easily in Canadian dollars for sure.
And also, Sony Santa Monica, I implore you guys, make collector's editions available in Canada. Damn it!
Oh man,
not that far north. Damn it!
Do not make a Norse mythology game and not be able to get the collector's edition in Canada. Damn it.
That's crazy, man.
It's actually been a problem I've been actually having more and more with all collector's editions. Like they're just not bringing them up here. It's blowing my mind. Like I don't want to openly say this, but for me to get, like, I have the God of War collector's edition pre-ordered, but for me to import it, I'm paying almost paid $275 for it.
Damn.
Because the collector's edition was 100. The collector's edition was like 150 American, and then with conversion, it's almost $200, and then with duty, it's going to be like another $75.
Yeah, getting across that border is a pretty penny, to say the least.
So, in the off chance anyone from Sony watches this, which I know they won't, let your collector's editions up in Canada. I will spend all my money.
Yeah.
Just let them go. Let them go.
That kind of makes me think about how like Nintendo of America does, like does down here. Like in Japan, they get like these insanely awesome like collector's editions and steel books and all this stuff. And here they're like, nah, you guys don't really care for that kind of stuff. We're like, are you out of your mind?
This was like, for me, there was a game called Papers, Please. I remember.
Oh
yeah.
And they were like, it's coming to PlayStation. I legit lost my mind. I was like, I can't wait to play this. And they're like, on the Vita. I'm like, I'm like,
surprise.
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
what? Why you guys do this to me? What? Why? I ain't paying $300 for a Vita.
Right. You're dogging me.
All right, so we'll do some outros and we'll wrap things up and let everyone get back to their Saturday nights. So, Rage, do your outro, man.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us on the Gaming Perspective. It was lovely having you all here. But this is Rage Virus X. You can find me at the Loot Gaming or on Twitter on thelootgaming.com, or you can find me on Twitter at RageVirus_X.
All right, Eric.
Hey, yeah, once again, man, hey, thanks for having me on. It's a blast talking with you guys. I feel honored to be included on the first show. But yeah, you can catch me on Twitter, EC Jackson, and on Brat Podcast with Enrique and B Money on Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock. And yeah.
All right, and Demigod.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? Demigod Reviews here, the man whose hand is cramping on Dragon Ball Fighters. You can catch me every Saturday mornings with the Mod Podcast and me gaming with Persona and Mr. Official VG. Subscribe to the channel, Demigod Reviews. Follow me on Twitch, Demigod Reviews. Follow me on Twitter at That Guy Demi. That's it.
All right, and this is Undead 3XVI. You can subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing some more stuff on here. You can find me on tickgn.com. And yeah, if you're looking for another podcast to listen to, Tick Podcast should be starting in 45 minutes. Most likely won't start till an hour and a half from now. In other news, I'm fired.
Cal has the best intentions, man. Cal's a busy dude.
I'll pull the lookout for you, man. I got you.
All right, thanks for everyone that stopped by and checked out the first episode. You will see us next time, and I hope everyone has a great Saturday. Peace.